Listen, party animals, I'm
Oh
just
gosh.
putting it out there.
Good Lord. Okay. Well, speaking of really nerdy things to say, like party animals, and if for everyone listening or watching, Kurt has decided he wants to try to name listeners party animals. So go ahead and leave a little chat comment on that one. Let me know your thoughts. I think Kurt, I roll, I keep laughing and rolling my eyes. But speaking of nerds, Nerd Prom's coming up.
Oh my God. Yes. Yes. It's a
I
good
nailed that
segue. Good. Yeah, you
segue.
did. Wow.
Nerd
If they
Prom,
don't
the
edit
White
that
House.
out, keep that.
Leave it. The White House Correspondents Dinner is not this Saturday, but the following Saturday. We're looking at
Hmm.
April, I think it's the 24th, right?
Right, right. But the parties begin a week from today. The part, like for everyone listening
Parties
who's not
start,
familiar,
yeah.
the parties start next Thursday and they go all the way through Sunday. The big event is on that Saturday. But a week from now, we'll be maybe you, maybe me, maybe both of us glamming ourselves up to hit the party circuit, unless you didn't get invited to anything, which in Erin's case could very well be the case.
I mean, that could be the case. I also have to travel next weekend for a client, so I won't be going to White House
What?
Correspondents Dinner. I know. I'm a political
Are you
consultant.
kidding? You're gonna make me go. You're gonna make me go solo to all this stuff.
Oh, poor Kurt. Poor Kurt.
What's
Everybody, you're
Connor
gonna.
doing? Is Connor around?
I
Could he be
know.
my like
Yeah,
wedding crashers buddy?
no, actually, he has to come with me too. He's working on the same
What the
client.
heck? Unbelievable.
Yeah, I know. You can't even get the fun
Poor guy.
McGuire either.
I know. We would be wearing a tuxedo T-shirt. It'd be great. Him and I would be very
Yeah.
good together on the party circuit.
It could be like Step Brothers, where you're like, "Hello, Miss Lady. We will be interviewing
Exactly. I would
together."
love that. Okay. Well, like all that said, so Trump is going to the Correspondents' Dinner on Saturday, next Saturday,
Which
for
is
the first time
huge.
in
And
forever.
and I think that's really reflective of the change in the discourse between the White House Correspondents Association and the White House and Trump. And I think it's also a testament kind of to Caroline Levitt's work on kind of building those traditional reporter relationships again that weren't seen as necessary previously. You know, working on the
Hmm.
Trump campaign in
Hmm.
20, we were all told we weren't allowed to go to the White House Correspondents' Dinner
Right.
because of the
Right.
adversarial nature of that relationship. But now the president's going, and they're not having a comedian. They're having Oz the
It's a magician,
mentalist.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to
Oh,
be a little bit different, but I mean, I think that's better than what they had previously. I mean, being a Republican and being in that room, there was the comedian who like was taking digs at Sarah Sanders when she was White House press secretary and kind of in mean
right.
ways, and it was just unnecessary. So this is going to be a different version of Nerd Prom, and it really like it earns that moniker Nerd Prom. People who work in politics, people who work in government, reporters who work in politics and government are all huge nerds. Huge nerds. So they
Yes.
definitely earn the
Yes.
moniker.
Yeah, I've always said that Washington is a place that if you weren't allowed to sit at the cool kids table in high school, if you were maybe picked on or bullied, or you were a nerd and that was your identity, this is the place where you actually are the popular kid as well as the nerd. I think it's interesting that, and this is somewhat unsurprising, but there are some personalities. Don Lemon comes to mind. They just reported like who are refusing to attend this next weekend's festivities because of Donald Trump's participation in it. The idea that they would make the case that acting like business as usual, let's all party together, when on the other hand they are constantly being, in Don's case, pursued by the Justice Department for what he would say was doing his job and reporting on what was going on in Minnesota. Others would say he incited as part of that situation. We'll see how that plays out. But like, it isn't really. I mean, on one hand, Karen Levitt every day lambasts the media. Pete Hegseth this morning called the entire Pentagon press corps accused using the New Testament, call them
He biblically
Pharisees
beat
or
them
whatever.
down. Yeah, he biblically beat them down.
And so it's like, and Hegseth is, I believe, invited to sit at CBS's table for the Correspondents' Dinner. So it's like, is it weird that during the day, like, there's this fight, this tension going on, and then at night we're gonna pretend like that's not actually happening, and we're gonna drink together and party together? Like,
Isn't that
is that
isn't that like
disingenuous?
isn't that like statesmanship though, right? Can't you disagree vehemently with somebody and have it out, and then at the end of the day when work's over, be able to act like a normal person too, and not only that's where I think Don, I mean, I get it. Like Don Lemon's got obviously a different reason for not going.
Hmm. Hmm.
But like at a certain point, shouldn't you be able to be an adult and do your job as well and say like, yeah, maybe they don't like them. Maybe they don't like the way that they work with the press corps. But it's also, if you want to be a good reporter, you got to be able to be in the room with people you don't necessarily personally like, and making it so much about yourself instead of being able to do your job and say like, yeah, we can disagree and still be around these people. I don't know why that feels so foreign to people that and this is again like the Blair of Trump derangement syndrome, where people are like, they're so terrible, and how can you ever hang out with anybody like that? And it's like, what are you
Hmm.
talking about? What are you talking about?
Well,
Have a life. Get a freaking life.
I mean, that's kind of
That's
the
how I
premise of
feel.
our podcast here, is like that we can be, on very different sides of almost every political issue, um, but still be able to have these conversations and keep it respectful and not, it's not personal. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you and I can go to a Buffalo Bills game together and cheer alongside one another.
Yeah,
Which
that's
again,
exactly
if
right.
you're new to the podcast, both Aaron and I are proud members of the Bills Mafia.
Heck yes, we are. My bachelorette was the Bills home opener in 2024. I'm not a table person, but I am a diehard Bills Mafia fan.
There you go.
So
There you go. Okay, well, it'll be
there'll
interesting
be
to
a lot
see
of parties, and there's
what goes on
one
next
interesting,
weekend.
yeah. Well, this is where like people get too drunk. This is, you're going to see a lot of reporting coming out of fights, of people getting in each other's faces. There's always one person who
Well,
has
especially with
that with somebody
TMZ
else.
on the case now. By the way, that'll be fascinating.
TMZ on the hill, and you add in that there's a grinder party now. The like hookup app,
Yes.
they're hosting a party. It's also about like what parties go on around it. Like it's just gossip season right now in DC, and listen, I'm here for it.
I can't believe you're missing it.
I know. I know. That's the life of a political consultant. Okay, to round this out today, we are going to talk about a piece that Axios popped about how MAGA women are kind of taking over this manosphere of influence, podcasting, of social media, of conversation.
Mean
And
Girls.
how are they mean girls?
They're mean to each other, man. They're vicious.
Mm.
Megan Kelly's slicing and dicing, like carving up people left and right. My God.
I
Vicious.
mean, listen, nobody's saying everybody gets along like you and me, but I think that's really interesting because for me, having a lot of female forward voices in the Republican Party is a good thing, even if they are disagreeing with each other. And listen, I'm not saying that like I want to hear a bunch of what Candace Owen has to say. That's not somebody I agree with. But I do
Sure.
like that they are offering different voices now, and that it's not just a boys' club. You're not just hearing about the Tuckers of the world and the Joe Rogans of the world. You're hearing about people like Megyn Kelly being able to
Yeah.
open up their own entertainment, business now, that they have their own station on Sirius XM, right? Like she's been able to really grow this,
Yep.
and it's grown kind of
Very
organically
entrepreneurial.
from the women of this. And I can't wait to hear Democrats do what they always do, which is like, well, we need our own version of Megyn Kelly. We need our own version of Katie Waldman. We need our own version of these Oh, Katie Miller, sorry, Katie Miller. I've known Katie literally since 2014, so it came out Katie Waldman. I mean Katie Miller, sorry. Um, but like
I
they
understand
have,
that. I still call you Aaron Perini sometimes.
yeah, but like they're taking over that kind of manosphere space, and I've seen Democrats always be like, well, we need our own Joe Rogan, we need our own this, that, and the next thing, and it's like, you know what works when people just do it. Right? Like the women have just stepped in and started to be successful. Like
Yes.
that's what works because it's real and it's
Yes.
conversational and people enjoy that.
Yeah. I actually, again, in a space that has been, and this is true, both Republican and Democrat, congested with male voices going back from the origination of opinion politics in the media, talk radio, where it was obviously Rush Limbaugh and
Yeah.
and people like Mark Levin and Lars Larson and Roger Hedgecock and on and on and on, to now we have to offset the Joe Rogans, Ben Shapiro's, Alex
Mhm.
Jones's. There's this whole crop of very strong independent women who are very, like I said, entrepreneurial, and that's my takeaway. Like, regardless of whether you agree or disagree with what they're saying, learn from what Megyn Kelly has done here.
Yeah.
When she left her contract at NBC, she was written off, right? Just kind of left for, political relevancy, graveyard. And
Yeah.
she was able to completely reinvent herself and build a media empire.
Mhm.
And it's interesting because, fun fact, her executive producer is my neighbor,
Oh,
here in Dallas. So,
nice.
yeah, I mean, literally, his kid plays with my kid all the time in the yard. Um, and watching what they have been able to build, and I went to one of her live events at Dickies Arena. This is an arena that literally fills up. Tim McGraw sells out. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
legit venue, and watching what she was able to do and produce and put on, and all the personalities that she has built in her media empire. And I say that to Democrats, like, you should not be saying, oh, we need our own Megyn Kelly. It's like Megyn Kelly
Yeah.
is one of one.
Mhm.
um
So is Joe
you cannot
Rogan, right?
duplicate that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so is Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
You need to be your own. Like, I'll say one entity that I think has done a very good job of doing that on the left are the Midas Touch brothers,
Yeah.
Ben, Brett, and Jordy. Like, they have built something that is, oftentimes in the top 3 of political podcasts. It is organic. It is true to them. And I know
Yeah.
people, again, forget about ideologically whether you like them or not. They came in, and, just 3 brothers in outside of DC, outside of New York, just talk about their perception of what was going on. And they found a huge audience for that, and have built an entire network as well. That,
Yeah.
CBS News is, Scott MacFarlane leaves network television and signs with them. Like, that's unheard of 5 years ago, to go from
Well,
network to streaming.
that's
Um,
true, but also a quick point on that. This is why Republicans don't have great relationships with reporters, because when they leave, they jump to lefty entities. Like, we all know the bias exists. We all work within the bias. We know the inherent bias that is against Republicans and leaning to the left in the news industry, in the media and the entertainment industry for sure. And that just proved the point. The moment Scott MacFarlane got out, what does he do? Boom, he jumps to a lefty outlet like that. Hannah Trudeau, who used to work at The Hill, she jumps out of being a reporter and tries to run for Congress as a like progressive Democrat up in, I think it was New Hampshire is where she ran before she was running before she ended that campaign. Yeah, we all know the bias exists. We all know it's a bunch of lefties in the media and the press. And man, if that doesn't just continue to prove it.
Well, I mean, you can make the case about the revolving door between the White House and Fox News. I mean, Fox News, which promotes itself, rightfully so, as the biggest cable news channel, bigger audience than CNN and MS combined, and it is a circular revolving door. Whether it's Tommy Lauren or previous White House press secretaries, from Dana Perino to Tony Snow, going back to Bush years, it's like, they, from the podium to Fox News, is like a direct line too. So, like, I think, multiple. I think it's true on all the ends of the spectrum now. I think
There's a
that you can
difference
make the
between
case,
being a
the
host and being a
traditional legacy
journalist.
media.
There's a difference between
Yeah,
being a
I,
host and
I agree,
being,
but
yeah,
we're
I
also
mean,
seeing.
go ahead. There's like a weird delay
I
sometimes.
was going to
It's
say,
like a
like,
weird delay.
I yeah, that's why I'm giving you longer times, because I think there's a little lag at times, because I know you're
Yeah.
in a WeWork in New York City right now.
Yeah.
And so normally I would
Glamour.
cut you off and tell you were wrong, but I'm just being polite today,
I'm
due to
just
your
going to do this
circumstances,
all
because
the
that's the
time.
kind of guy that I am.
I'm going to be in a place every time so you
It's very
can't cut me
effective.
off.
Oh my gosh, very, very effective. No, I do think that legacy media had much more of a bias. And I think they should own that. I think that the opinion side actually is more now revolving door to the right than to the left. I do think there's a difference between being a journalist, quote journalist, reporter, and commentating and hosting. I think those are all fair nuances to make. I'm just saying, an entity that casts itself as news, as quote fair and balanced, has a revolving door with the White House, and has for a while. And that contextually, that's just an added point I was making.
Hmm. Well, oh well. I was going to say something mean, but I'm not. I'm such a nice
Aha!
person.
See, I'm right.
Such a
That's
nice
right. Hashtag party animals. You heard it there. Aaron can't disagree with me on that one. So perfect way to end the show.
Oh boy. Yeah. Well, we have to have something we agree upon, right? Namely, that the Bills are the best. That's what we will
Yeah.
always agree upon. Well, I think that wraps it up for us today. Make sure you like, rate, review, subscribe, join us on all of the platforms for all of the fun. And please comment and let me know what
We're
you think
everywhere.
of party animals. Please.
It's great. You want to be a party animal. You want to party with us. You want to have a shirt that says party animals or a koozie or something. You'll see. You'll see.
All right. Until next time, my friend. Adios.